Today, we are diving into a topic that is pretty much guaranteed to start a debate at your next family dinner. We're talking about the immense social pressure to buy a home. You know the drill, right? It's that constant nagging question of, so when are you finally going to buy a place? Society kind of trains us to believe that success automatically equals homeownership. But in this explainer, we're going to put the feelings aside for a minute. We're strictly looking at the math to show you why renting might actually be the smartest financial move you can make right now.
Renting is just throwing your money away. We've all heard that one, haven't we? It's basically passed down as financial gospel at this point. But here's the thing nobody really wants to admit at the dinner table. Paying rent is honestly no more throwing your money away than paying mortgage interest to a bank. Think about it for a second. When you take out a massive loan to buy a house, you're essentially just renting money from the bank. And the cost of renting that money, well, that's your interest rate. For the first 10 years of a 30-year mortgage, the vast majority of your monthly payment goes straight to the bank's profit line, not into building your own equity. So calling rent throwing money away is honestly a pretty fundamental misunderstanding of how debt actually works. Let's break this down further in Section 1, the hidden costs of owning. There are massive, entirely unrecoverable costs of owning a home that conveniently get left out when people brag about property values. We're talking mortgage interest, property taxes, homeowners insurance, HOA fees, and routine maintenance. Actually, routine maintenance historically eats up about 1 to 2% of your home's value every single year. So say you buy a $400,000 home, you need to budget $4 to $8 grand annually just to replace the water heater, fix the roof, and keep the lights on. Just like rent, that money literally vanishes. You never see it again.
$21,084. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is the average amount a U.S. homeowner spends every single year on non-mortgage expenses. Again, that's taxes, insurance, and maintenance. And that's before they even touch the principal of their loan. That's practically a part-time salary just to keep the walls standing. Imagine what else you could do with an extra 21 grand a year. Fund your retirement, travel the world. I mean, you could literally buy a new car every couple of years. Instead, it's going toward property taxes and lawn care.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 2, the opportunity cost. This is the silent, invisible price tag of locking up your cash. Let's compare the two paths side by side. On the one hand, you have the traditional path. You lock a massive down payment into a single, illiquid asset, your house. And all your extra cash gets tied up in maintenance. When the roof leaks, well, it's your weekend and your wallet taking the hit. But on the other hand, let's say you rent a comparable place. Here's the secret sauce. You take that huge down payment, plus all the monthly savings from not paying property taxes and repair bills, and you invest it into a diversified index fund. While the homeowner is stressing over a flooded basement, you're peacefully watering your houseplants, knowing your cash is actively working for you in the global market. So what does this actually look like over a 25-year period? If we look at historical data and assume stock markets return about 5% above inflation and real estate returns about 2% above inflation, check this out. The disciplined renter who consistently invests the difference, they end up with a net worth of $3.6 million. The homeowner? $2.9 million. How is that even possible? It's the magic of compound interest. The renter's money in the stock market often compounds way faster than the equity built in a house, especially after you subtract the hundreds of thousands of dollars the homeowner lost to interest, taxes, and maintenance over those 25 years. Historically, while real estate absolutely does appreciate, and hey, it feels amazing when it does, broad stock market returns have often quietly outpaced property growth after adjusting for inflation, taxes, and upkeep. Don't get me wrong, a house is an amazing place to live, raise a family, and make memories. But fundamentally, it's shelter first and an investment second. When you strip away the emotion, it's just not always the highest yielding financial instrument you could be holding. If you're finding this valuable, please subscribe to Wealth Lab and share this video with your friends and family. It really helps us grow.
Let's move on to Section 3, when renting actually wins.
Beyond just the long-term math, there are very specific real-world situations where renting heavily favors you. Number 1, career mobility. If an amazing job opportunity pops up across the country, a renter can simply pack up and leave. A homeowner, they're either stuck or forced to pay massive transaction costs, like 5 to 6% in agent fees just to sell the place. Renting is also the absolute smart move if you live in a highly overvalued urban market, where it costs double to buy than it does to rent the exact same unit. Or hey, maybe you just prefer to protect your peace of mind and avoid a $10,000 surprise plumbing bill. There's also this fascinating concept gaining huge popularity called rent vesting. This is where you rent a home in an expensive, desirable neighborhood where you actually want to live, while simultaneously buying an investment property in a much more affordable area to build equity. It's a brilliant compromise. You get the lifestyle and location you want without sacrificing the wealth building potential of real estate. In fact, recent data shows over half of Australian first home buyers are now considering this exact strategy. All right, bringing it all together in Section 4, making the right choice.
How do you actually decide without letting family pressure cloud your judgment? It all comes down to your own personal numbers. First question, will I stay in this exact location for the next 5 years? If the answer is no, or honestly even I don't know, buying rarely makes mathematical sense. The incredibly high sunk cost of closing on a house, combined with the agent fees to eventually sell it, will totally wipe out any equity you build in those first few years. You absolutely need time to let the math work in your favor. So if you can't commit to at least a half decade, renting is the clear winner.
Question 2 is a gentle reality check. Am I disciplined enough to actually invest my savings? Now, the entire mathematical advantage of renting only works, and I mean literally only works, if you take the money you save on property taxes, down payments, and maintenance and actually put it into the market. It takes intention. If you're just going to spend that surplus cash on upgrading your car or taking lavish vacations, then buying a home as a forced savings account might actually be exactly what you need. You got to know yourself, know your habits, and be really honest about what you'll do with that extra cash.
Ultimately, the choice is entirely yours. But before you drain your savings for a down payment just to satisfy society's expectations, just ask yourself, are you buying a home to build wealth, or are you just buying into a myth? Thank you for joining us today. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to Wealth Lab. We'll see you in the next one.